There's a big event going on. You're gonna love this. Now, I touched on it in my last video, and if you're game, if you're not already doing this, you could become part of the big event because it's taking us to an amazing, beautiful, beautiful space. I'm going to explain a couple of things that are so cool, some messages from Spirit, some things about that communication that I want to share with you, and what is happening right now on this planet. All good stuff. Of course it is. You're on my channel. Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears and live an amazing life. Can you believe it? We haven't had coffee in a while together. I thought I'd start doing that again. So, before we get started, I want to share with you what transpired so you understand what the big event is. If you saw my last video, I talked about, thanks to a subscriber, I talked about how a paranormal investigator held a series of questions with Spirit and asked questions. I will give those to you right now. First of all, is there a God? And they answered yes. And then he asked, are there aliens? And they said yes. And then they asked, are they evil? Which is sort of funny. It's like saying, are humans evil, right? By our definition, we would qualify as evil as a species. But the joke is, and we'll talk about that, you're not evil. And we ultimately really aren't. But by human definitions, we think of evil as bad and something to be avoided and really destroyed, eliminated. And so when asked, are they evil? They did not answer. Next question, what are you doing here in our world? And they said, this is not your world. Question again, are aliens evil? No answer. Now, if you watched my video, I went deep into why they didn't answer. So I'll briefly tell you why. In order for them to say, yes, they are evil, we as humans used our own language and interpretation, our definition of evil. And they didn't want to give that answer because it would be inaccurate according to what we gauge as evil. So therefore, the last thing they wanted to do is give us that word that would instill fear and they must be eliminated, avoided, and that there's no purpose in any of that. So, the big event that's happening right now is the reconstruction of the human vocabulary. It's happening right now. What is that? Now, I'm going to give you two things. I'm going to do another video on this. Further, every event that we go through, we actually create ourselves. We can actually, as an announcement, create the big event. If you participate, we create the big event. Now, I gave an example to my students. Sip of coffee, hold on. And I said, did you know that every invention, whether they had internet or not, usually not, had several people at the same time inventing the same thing without knowledge of one another? Some of them did have knowledge, but there was no knowledge of, let's say, the light bulb or the telephone. All of these things out there are in the cosmos. In other words, they're in the quantum field. Every probability and idea, invention, everything exists there. Isn't that exciting? You can access it. If you want to access and create something, you can. It's all there, and it doesn't discriminate. Anyone can access it. So if you access it, and you're going to invent something, chances are pretty good, because we go into what I call tipping points. Certain things are available to us at certain times and are meant to come into our world. In other words, technology shows up. In the quantum field, we create it because we're ready for it. We actually create that probability, and therefore somebody must bring it in. So is this cool stuff or what? Okay, that's the video I'm going to do after this. So what happens is, if we have a big event, if we all start to go into the same mind frame and we start to think similarly, or we desire certain things similarly, we go into the tipping point. That's in my upcoming book. The tipping point is where we are right now. So we tip over into, and I did a video on this, into a certain way of life, how we treat each other, everything. It hits everything. So what's happening right now is the big event is that because we're going more into the awakened state, we are redefining our own vocabulary, right? We're reinventing it, so to speak. In other words, we're realizing there is no good nor bad, because so many people, and I was just on one of my Miracle Circle sessions. You guys come on over. This one's free. This is Manifest Anything. We were in there, and the advancement of my students has gone bonkers. I was hearing responses that I've never heard before. A year ago, I heard a lot of distress and anxiety. In this last one, and it was in January of 2022, the students were embracing the challenges, and they didn't find them bad. This is the big event. We will no longer have spirit concerned about using the word evil. There are, of course, different frequencies and levels of, yes, other beings on other planets, yes. But for them to use the word evil, we would have envisioned it on the level of evil that we think of evil. All right? Everyone is a perfect light being. Positive, beautiful, unconditional love. So I just want to get that straight, because when I talked about in my last video that human beings inherently, according to our own definition, are evil, the actual truth of where everything comes from, we're all actually perfect, beautiful, loving light beings. We're creating that evil. We're creating that density and negativity. That is a choice of ours, and neither good nor bad. So if something that you go through, some trauma, which is part of the Matrix program, we're choosing all of these challenges to master. If you start thinking of it that way, then all of a sudden that challenge that you had, or challenge that shows up, is no longer a problem or bad. It may have been the most amazing gift of your life. If I hadn't had that, I wouldn't be this. If they hadn't done that, I wouldn't be the strong person I am. I hear this constantly. So the definition of bad is changing. Evil, what is evil? When we go into compassion and we see things on a higher frequency, which is happening here, so many of you are going into the higher frequency, we don't see someone as evil the way we used to think of evil. As like in Star Wars, we're all destroying each other. Good's destroying bad, bad's destroying good. From a view up here, all you see is destruction and death. You don't hear the conversations going, oh, but we're the good guys. See, we're wearing white. What? No, I just see people killing each other. And Luke Skywalker recognized that later on in the series, that death is death, destruction's destruction, hate is hate, no matter which side you're fighting on, which kept the wars going on. The battle continues on and on. The evil that is here is still another light being exploring its darkest side, its darkest probabilities. Through that, we are allowed opportunities, those of us who want to see the change for love and light. We now have an opportunity to create and go into a space of the new earth that has solutions and counteracts that with love, not more hate, all right? Or rebellion or whatever else it is. We're redefining that because we're going into the higher frequency. The higher frequency would never battle evil. What did Christ do? What did Gandhi do? Right? They laid down in front of the British tanks. They were never allowed to use any kind of force. It was more powerful than anything. And that's what we're going into. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to go into some cataclysmic event. I'm telling you that the big event right now is we're seeing everything differently, and every word now, because words are the most powerful energy field. It starts with the thought. The thought is powerful because then it creates the words, which then create the actions, because there's a belief behind it. There's a driving force behind it. And you're in control of that because you can see any situation any way you want. That's the free will that you individually hold as part of the collective. So whatever decision you make affects the entire universe. So when you speak a certain word, you change it. But what you believe and think about that word is the energy field. Now, I gave an example of, out of the literally millions of people who watch my videos, 2 didn't like that I say, shut your pie hole. Now, when you see me say that, you know that I'm having fun, and that in no way do I mean it in a negative way. Both of them, in their childhood, had, I think it was teachers, I think it might have been both of them, had teachers that used that term in a very condescending, negative way, according to them. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's say that was the case. All this time, from their childhood up to when they saw my video, they hung on to that negative energy field. You're bringing that with you. That negative energy field's with you about that and those words and those words and those actions, and you keep accumulating all of this negative energy. Bring it with you. In other words, there's no such thing as time. It just is the illusion you wrap yourself in that is in a lower frequency. No wonder people get sick and have anxiety, right? She's carrying that with her. Both of them were carrying that with her and wanted me to stop saying it. So in order for me to be okay with the choice that I made to see this negatively, and also anybody else who says it is negative, I want the world to change for me. And we do that all the time, right? So I'm supposed to stop, even though millions of people find great joy in me going, shut your pie hole. And so it's meant to be fun, because we're so damn serious when we go into this awakened state. We should be having so much fun. Fun and laughter is joy. So when I do that, my intentions behind those words are very positive. I have reinvented, I have redefined that word, that phrase. That's the big event. So you could take, it's not that those words go away, they have completely different meaning for us. So that person, I told them, absolutely will not change, because my intentions behind that phrase are very positive. And so maybe the lesson is for you to ask yourself why you're still hanging on to the negativity from one person's intentions behind that word, right? Now think about this. What words or phrases, we all have them. There was somebody in our life that used a certain phrase or word that was so negative, and every time you hear that word, it triggers it. Smells, so how somebody looks can trigger events. All kinds, that's what PTSD is, right? We have things triggered from something traumatic that happened. We can redefine it. Redefine our vocabulary. So now, and so many of you responded so well to that video, the big event is that we are obliterating all the fine, defined lines of what those words mean, and saying there is no line. It's all a blur and all of a choice, good and bad. So what we would call bad has, for my students, been the most liberating, purposeful things that have happened in their lives, that most people would say, oh gosh, I would never want that. Yet they've embraced it and will overcome these things. But because they have the attitude that they don't see it as bad, but the challenge that they have definitely chosen to take on. They've chosen to take on that challenge. And so now bad is no longer bad. It is something different. And now our whole world shifts because of us and how we think of the words. And so now when I shut your pie hole, maybe those 2 people out there will laugh and go to the higher frequency and find the humor in it. Now, when I see anything, because I don't watch news, I don't know anything that's going on most of the time, which is a good thing for me. That's what I choose. I'm focused on making a change in a very positive way on this planet. So my focus is over here on the solutions that affects the evil and the bad. I affect it by not focusing on it and battling it, because I've defined it as something that we need to fight or get rid of. I'm over here saying that my mission is to become my highest frequency that affects that. That's how I do it. I don't even have to go and picket or burn buildings or shout or argue or debate. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I'm already changing the planet because my total focus is on that new world, the solutions that will change everything. And the choices that I make, I said, you're not eating fast food that's loaded with chemicals. There's no fast food with chemicals. It's that simple. We as the community, we rule. So no more fighting it, and now let's redefine what is bad. Is this bad? Is this good? Have you ever heard the story of the farmer? The farmer, who's got this beautiful farm, and everybody says, oh, you're so fortunate, and they're working their butts off. He said, it's neither. They say, oh, this is good. He says, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And then the war comes on, the Civil War, and, they take over the farm and, turn it into barracks or whatever. And everybody says, oh, that's bad. And he says, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And so his son, who is working the farm and they're taking care of these soldiers, breaks his leg. And they said, oh, that's bad. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right? And because of his broken leg, his son doesn't get drafted into the army, and this goes on and on and on. So now, oh, it's good, now it's bad, it's good, it's bad. And so the farmer knew that everything was unfolding exactly the way it should, and there was no good nor bad to it. Because the universe is always taking you to a higher place because of that. When we go into the definition, the old definition, human definition of bad or evil, we're battling something, we're struggling with something. And so we're still in the low density. And so we're not seeing the value, we're not seeing purpose in this event. We're not seeing the teachings in the event. We're now going into teaching. Now we're understanding the purpose behind absolutely everything that happens, including the evil person who does things. It's the test to the whole planet. Our health challenge. Oh, it's bad. Is it? Look at how we've shifted because of it. And by the way, all those people, but people have died. Nobody dies. And people have chosen to leave at certain times to facilitate these changes. Nobody just was a victim. A lot of people that were getting ready to go or decided that they would in advance be a part of the transition of those who are going to leave at a certain time that's going to take this planet. And the rest of us who are left here are in charge of now facilitating that change. We all have agreements. They're like, okay, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do all these things, and then there's going to be this cataclysmic event that's going to help transform the entire planet because everybody's going to think differently. We're going to act differently with one another. We're going to be challenged and find out who we are. We're going to learn how to be one, or we'll go into separation. It'll be a big, shift. The big shift is happening between the two sides, and there's no two of anything. Everything's a blend. But the choice is between going into that new earth and saying we need to be community. We need to solve these problems on the planet, pollution, all these things. So those people said, okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll be one of those. I'll go then. And then they did their job and they lived their life here and they decided to be part of the group that went during this time period. That's it. That's it. There's no victims. So we're redefining death. And that is, it's an exit strategy from the program back to what we are. So because we've thought of ourselves as just solid human beings, death is, right? You're crying. Who are you crying for? You're crying for yourself. The person that's gone is like in amazing space. So, and I know it's tough. We do miss our family and our friends or spouses, whoever you've lost. But that's okay. It's not bad to grieve. I feel being human because when I go into the other side, I can't experience that because I'm not in density, so I don't know what grief or loss is. You get to feel that, and it makes that love so much greater. And now we know what it is to love and to truly care about someone. Those of you who are ill, you may be the greatest teachers for those around you who are taking care of you or choosing not to. All part of the plan. We're redefining the human vocabulary. There's no evil. There are only great teachings. And through your choices, all of that can change. And it has to come from here. So many of you have said, I'm understanding that all that comes from here, that I'm generating that reality out there. Not for everybody, but for myself, and through myself, affect everybody, but they still have choice. Are you ready to go into this big event? Can you redefine all those words in your head? And whenever you say a word, stop yourself and ask, okay, did I just place something negative on that word when actually it may not be true? Can I give it a different definition that isn't neither good nor bad, black or white, victim, perpetrator? All these things are agreements, teachings, opportunities, choices. Wow. All of a sudden, words just changed for all of us. And we go into a space of empowerment, and we realize it all has amazing meaning, and I don't want to miss that. And everything I go through is another opportunity within the quantum field saying, here's something else. This will take you to the next level. But you can't master it. You can't know what it's like to be wealthy if you've never been wealthy. You have to learn how to be wealthy, right? There's a process that goes into there. And when you get there, you go, oh, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't as easy to get there as I thought, and there's all these challenges that come with that, and you understand what it is. But people, they just want to be wealthy because they think they know what it is, because they place a meaning on it. And so you will redefine it. When you get there, you realize everything is an opportunity for me to understand how to get to that next level of spiritual involvement. Do you want to participate in the big event? Now, here's the next video I'm going to do. Even if the big event wasn't happening, it is, but I'm facilitating right now just with this video. You can actually create a big event. Just one person can. The butterfly that flaps its wings, that turns into a little bit of a wind, that turns into a bigger wind, and then a storm, and maybe even a hurricane. That's how you create the big event. It's not that everybody's doing it. It's that when you start it, and the next person gets it, and they go into that space of thinking, and the next person goes in that space of thinking and reinvents, redefines the human vocabulary, and the next person, we create the big event. Because it's in the quantum field now. The inventions, it's in the quantum field. We're ready to go into that. So now, everybody who goes into that probability actually creates the big event. That's my next video, how we can actually be the one person that creates a global transformation. Be the butterfly. That's my next video. You guys, here's the other one. People had such a bad opinion of online businesses back when I started 7 years ago. These are free videos. And now, millions of people are creating lives of freedom and learning how to become business owners, getting proper training. You got to get proper training. Don't try and do it yourself. And again, community, people who are going to help you get there, creating businesses that are good for the planet instead of working for somebody that's doing bad things to the planet, good or bad, right? We're going to redefine that and say, oh, this was really good that I was experiencing these bad things. So it is actually good. So now I'm going to create better, even better. So I'm going to create my own business with products that are healthy and helping people or whatever it is you want to do, and you can do that. Give you freedom and control over your life. But you have to put the work in. You're going to learn what that means. And it's not winning the lottery. Most lottery winners, why did they go bankrupt and get divorced? They don't know how to be rich. And then when they get there, it's not what they thought. And they realize the wealth doesn't give them happiness. You are wealthy. You have jewels lined in your coat and in your pockets. You just have to reach in, my friend. So come on over. Manifest Anything's down here. It's free. I have new programs coming out. I have teachings, and the Miracle Circle is $29.95 a month. Come on over and be a member. You get some online training. I give you something every month to work on, and you get usually a 1.5 to 2 hour online live Miracle Circle session with me. We have a training, we talk, we have open Q&A, and then I take you into a guided meditation into a circle of light. and we do healings, and we place requests, and we send our light and love to the planet. We do this every month. And by the way, we don't take the circle of light back. We keep it out there. So every time we go out, we envelop the earth, the planet, with more and more light and perfection. We see it as perfect. We encircle each other. We reach out, metaphorically. We reach out with our light and we create a circle, and it's amazing. Come on over. And you get that live, and you also get a recording. Also, you get both of those. So why are you holding back on anything? I don't understand that. You're not going to be here long. Every minute of time that doesn't really exist is gone right now. And that's gone, and that's gone. So please subscribe and share this. Let's expand on the big event. Are you ready to do that? I got to put my coffee down. You're whole and perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Namaste.